right, everybody, thank you for joining us today on the Montana Business Vlog. I'm Joel Silverman. Want to welcome everybody to today's broadcast. Here today, I've got Susan and Dean Bjerke. I can't tell you enough of how thankful I am that they're giving us our time. It is unbelievable that we're getting a high-powered married couple in two separate businesses, but that are very closely joined. Their children have been a long part of their businesses. It's just, I just feel really blessed to get to do this one. This is just one of those amazing days where the rest of my day is going to be made. I can't tell you. You may not feel it, but I do, because this is just great for me. And it's a challenge, because I've never gotten to do a married couple like this. I've done, we've interviewed Dean and his daughter, and we've interviewed siblings, but we've never gotten to do a husband and wife. Especially ones that are now starting to think about succession planning their businesses. So you guys have had a long, great career in what you're doing, and you have so much information to share with us, I know. So Susan, let's start out with you. Why don't you tell us a little about yourself and tell us about your architecture firm.
Okay, thank you, Joel. I grew up here in Helena. My dad is a civil engineer, and we came with the federal highways in the early 60s. I started school, first grade here. My mom actually attended college, which I'm extremely proud of for a woman in the 50s. And we relocated here, grew up here. It was Lee Holmes' drafting class at Helena High that really sparked the opportunities that perhaps an architectural career would open up. I think I have a sister that's an engineer as well, and I think we always had the Legos and that type of thing growing up. But it was that drafting class at Helena High that just I thought I could do this. And it was in the days, of course, when we were hand drafting, so it was a very different feeling. Lee Holmes helped me get a job at Campo and Crennan and Caru Architects, and that was another life-changing event for me, just seeing how an architectural office worked. And they were in one of the newest buildings downtown. It was, during the urban renewal times, and it was a little brutal here during urban renewal, but it was exciting to be in an architectural office that was actually working on the redevelopment of downtown. I got ready to go to Havre in drafting, and I will forever be grateful to Joe Campo sitting me down and saying, "No, I think you could be an architect." And me thinking, "No, I think I'm just a draftsperson." And he said, "No, go to MSU." And I did. My sweet parents, it must have been about a month before school was supposed to start, got me enrolled. I had to live in the lounge in the dorm because they didn't have any room. But again, MSU was an excellent fit. Again, it was a while ago. There were only 2 women in my class, and we both hammered through. 33 graduates, and two women. I went to work for the state coming out of school, and the economy was a little soft in 1980, so I felt real lucky to even get the job at the state, and that was, again, a real eye-opener for me. It was in the general services, so we did all sorts of different things there at the Capitol Complex, and I got to work directly with the construction crews, laying out, remodels, that type of thing. I learned a lot, and I felt like it was a really good stepping stone for me. In 1986, I was working part-time at the state and kind of part-time at home. By that time, we had 4 children, and my part-time was stretching me a little thin, so I thought, well, all right, something has to give, and I let the state job go and started doing small projects he had started diamond construction in '85, so there were projects to be worked on, I guess, at that time. So started very small in our home, but it was a good transition for me. I learned, again, construction also from the ground up. He had me doing, back in those days we called them material takeoffs. And, you take a set of plans and you take off everything that's going to be constructed on those plans. About '91, I had the wonderful opportunity to have an intern join me. I was nervous and scared about that commitment, but she is still here, and a licensed architect as well. And then we've kind of steadily, not steadily, I'm very cautious hiring additional people. So we're a team of 4 right now, 3 licensed architects and an architect in training. This is our 5th location. Everyone has been just a fun project. We get to design the space and gets to be built by an excellent contractor. It's been a very good career. I've served on the AIA board, the American Institute of Architects State Board, first woman president of that group. And yeah, I learned a lot there. And talk about, building a network of people you could call on. It was extremely helpful to meet these architects from around the state. And I think our professional organizations have been very supportive in that regard. It's been a good run.
Dean, how about your world?
My world was born in North Dakota, but lived on a little farm in South Dakota that had a great life for me as a kid up until I was 12 years old, and I hated Helena. I hated to go to Helena. I was like, this is way too big for me. But farm life was really, really important as far as my formation, and the fact that it was all about hard work, family, and you talk about risk. I feel like contracting is one of the most risky businesses you could be in, but it's nothing compared to farming or ranching. And as a kid, I got to feel that personally down deep, in the fact that we had just had a hailstorm that we went inside a root cellar for my grandfather and grandma and all of, 3 kids and my folks. And when we came back out, there was nothing standing. It had all been shredded to everything was flattened on the ground, and this is what your whole life depends on as far as income and your survival. And so it was like, wow, there wasn't a word said. So those type of experiences and understanding how important families and support and how risk happens and how you take it on after you get through with some of the things that you experience. It kind of has always stuck with me as far as business and stuff. And I played with spent lots of time wide open spaces, but we always had these little tractors with something on the back to kind of run around and do all kinds of stuff in the garden area. And I'd look across the hills and look at the neighbor and think about the rich guy over there that had all this land compared to our measly 960 acres. And so at that time, even in my own head, I was all about trying to do better and do things in business, I guess you could say. But at that point in my life as a young kid, I wanted to just have a really neat farm or ranch that was big. So it was the formative years of watching my mom do the work in bucking bales, even when she was pregnant. It's just, and women worked hard on farms and ranches. I think it helped also establish what my expectations or what I accepted from the females in our life and in this world can accomplish just as much as men can. From there, we came to Helena. My dad was actually a carpenter, started out that way, and I got the honor of working for his boss at age 16, pounding nails, and it was I just loved it. It was awesome. I made good money in the summer months helped me afford to be able to go to college without much for loans. I worked the first 2 years, went to school for the first 2 years at Carroll because I had 40 hours a week I could do up through about October and November before I got laid off. So I was putting in 40 hours a week during that time period, and my grades weren't the best the first semester, so I had probably about a C+ average, and then the second semester when I didn't have anything else to do, it went up to like a 4.5 average. It was pretty awesome. I put all
There's
the...
a 4.5 here.
Oh, 3.5. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. A's. It would have been nice to have
That would have been
4.5.
great.
Yeah. No, it was, I don't know. It's just this whole thing about what you can accomplish when you put your mind to it or when you have the time to do it. And then joined the Navy at that point in my career as an 18-year-old because there was a draft right in front of our face, and so I enlisted. And it was probably one of the best things I've done in my life too, as far as I'm concerned. It exposed me to lots of new things. Some of them I didn't enjoy a lot, but it was an exposure that I needed to experience. But that became also part of who I was, as far as I spent 35 years in the Navy Reserve, so it was a pretty great run for me and lots of fun. It also exposed me to other businesses, I guess you could say, in the shipyards. I had really wanted to take courses in college that wasn't just about engineering, but about business, and so I did accounting, I guess, finance, those type of courses that allowed me to understand more about, in finance course we got to fakely buy stock and track it and understand what stock was all about. I loved those courses and loved the engineering courses too. Came out of there, served 3 years in the Navy, active duty wise, on a destroyer over in Athens, Greece for 2 of those years. Loved international travel. If it hadn't been for encouragement to go overseas, I'd have done it in Seattle and been close to home, but it was awesome what I experienced with another culture and what was out there over the world, because I never comprehended even as a kid that I'd ever have that opportunity, and the Navy gave it to me. And I'm very blessed along those lines. Came back and went to work in another construction company. Built my own personal house first before I did that, but I went to work for another construction company and was there for 9 years and was the general manager for a while, and then parted my ways and started diamond construction in 1985, shortly after I'd married this lovely lady. And she did a bunch of takeoffs like she was talking about. She also was my office manager, and we had 3 kids right away, and lots of energy inside the house, you might say. And we actually got to the point where we had 5 kids, and one of them was in the closet.
I think an architect and a contractor could build a bigger house.
It was all about saving money.
Yeah.
But we moved to a different house. We got a beautiful place up on a hill that had a view, and we just loved it there as a family. And our daughters, 5 daughters, this house was built for 5 girls and 1 boy, and they all picked out a little cubicle upstairs that would just fit everybody perfect. So
Yeah, pretty unique house, really. It's a 60s vintage, owned by Dr. Bossler previously. That's an old Helena name too, with his 5 lovely daughters.
And then I kept adding people. I had my dad worked for me. My 2 brothers worked with me. And starting out, we all pounded nails. We had Susan and my mom painting with us at certain times on small projects as we started out. It was pretty much a family business at that point in time, and heavily family. Everybody was there. There was a couple of hires that worked for it, and one of them, Ruben Hernandez, is still with us. It's a great, I guess, cool accomplishment to hold on to people and have them still part of your organization.
Your sisters all worked.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
in trouble with my own dad. One time I had my sister driving a dump truck, and he got all upset with me because I shouldn't be having my young sister, who actually is she is 18 years younger than I am, and I get this dump truck, call it down the dump and dump it. And he was not happy with me, and I knew about it too. He told me right to my face. I have always looked at my sisters and my daughters as they can do anything and everything that a guy can do. So, but we had we kept growing in the business. It got to the point where on a new house that we had several trucks parked in our house yard, and then it started to show up with a dump truck or two in the street. So I got to the point where we needed a place, and we ended up buying this location, and we moved our offices down here in 92, right?
Oh, yeah, 91 maybe.
91, 92.
Yeah, I mean, it was before Shopco. I mean, we were way out here in the sticks. Yeah, but that was a good buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought it at an auction and calls me and says, "I bought the biggest, ugliest building in Helena. Now what can we do?" Because it was blue and white striped. It had all these funky wood shingles across the front. I mean, it was a looker, but it had square footage and space, and we were pretty excited to have inside shop space because the back was all just wide open. Yeah, it was a good move.
And I guess it was, why was I in business? I just love building stuff and passionate about doing projects for people. And the more unique or the more challenging they are, the more I loved what we did. And we had great people to accomplish those. And I think that's been what it's been about, is forming those teams that can accomplish that stuff. I've been fascinated my entire career, my entire life with leadership and leadership talents. And I got to witness what I didn't want to do, and then I got to witness what I really thought was cool. And even with the military providing leadership training, and it was really neat to take and listen to what they had to say and have ideas. And then when I got out of the Navy on active service and started in our own business, then it was about trying to find something that kind of just spoke to you about how to take and lead. And for one of the cool things we accomplished is, because I had reserve duty, we'd often drive all the way to Spokane or
Bayview, Idaho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bayview, Idaho, or down to Richland, Washington, because I was a CO down in Richland. No, I wasn't a CO, I was an XO down there, and then just driving all over the place that you could take and spend a lot of time in the car. We have kids with us, and so we started to listen to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Like early 90s or mid 90s, yeah. The tape deck with the cassette tape in it, and it's propped up on the dashboard, ready to fly and hit you in the head. But it spoke to us. Our daughters, they just chuckled over it, because every time we'd get in the car, we'd bust out the 7 Habits, and they're like, "Not again! I can tell you the story." But it sunk in, They really did absorb. And it was the first time all these things that had been talking about with leadership and the things that he wanted to try, and why aren't people, why can't they manage themselves first? I mean, here was somebody, Stephen Covey had summarized it. It really was a defining moment, I think, in just seeing that there was a plan, there was some steps that a person could take to improve, how you show up in the world.
Yeah.
And it was what was amazing to me is there's only one person you're really in charge of. Even though I am the CEO of this organization, I'm not in charge of anybody. I'm in charge of myself, and that's it. Mm-hmm. What I can do is provide leadership and mentoring and guidance and everything else, but I can't necessarily tell them what to do unless they really want to take and help down those paths, or to stop doing certain things. Unless they really take it on themselves, I can help guide the process, but we are really in charge of ourselves, period, end of story. And I think that was a key moment for me, but it was also key that he also provided the 7 habits of linear engineering spoke to me with these are the
Here's some
steps that
steps.
can help
Yeah.
that process. So I've been, I really wanted to emphasize that for the people that I associated with, both in my business and in the reserves. And I think it is a great publication and a great book to read. I've come all the way to 33 years in business at this point in time, and I want it to succeed after I'm done and have success, and I'm working hard to get to that point, but it's been a great run.
And you've also got Silver City Stone, right?
Right, we have Silver City Stone tile and cabinets that we, as part of our business or part of the family ownership of stuff we have. Yeah, they're doing great. And again, it's about service to the client and providing a great product and taking care of our clients. And I got 2 people over there that are just really, really hot after it to do that. So that's cool.
Excellent. Now, you've still got daughters in the business, right?
There's one daughter that continues to work in the business, yeah.
Okay. And what's her role? How long has she been involved in the business?
She took care of kids first when she got back to Helena. She was trained as an industrial engineer at school, same degree I have at MSU. She went to work for a cabinet shop in Portland area,
Yeah.
and worked there for
Industrial.
7 years, as I recall. Then brought the kids back here to raise, and took a break from anything. And then she came to work for us full time, or almost full time, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. So she's been in different roles. At the present time, she's basically executive officer for family businesses, and kind of helps me with everything I'm doing at this point in time.
Property management.
Yeah, she has also a property management. I have a broker's license. So we have some real estate holdings that she basically takes care of all of that. But she really is my right arm to help with all of that, plus just things that drive me crazy, I guess you might say, on all levels. So,
She's very orderly, systematic, and very effective. It's pretty neat to watch her.
Yeah.
it's awesome to have her involved and be able to give me advice that she doesn't hold back anything. It's nice to have people that can be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my things about life is feedback is extremely important. I don't care, and this is the best person in the world to ask for feedback right here. It's like,
Goes both ways.
so, feedback's a gift, and you can either take it into your heart or you can throw it in the trash can. And it's like, I've tried to tell people that it's a perspective, and I really have worked hard on wherever it comes from, trying to make sure I'm looking at how I can do a better job. And sometimes it's really important that people don't get emotionally tied to a different perspective and look at, how could that perspective be out there, and then do something about it. Because it's really important for us to try to live and grow and get better.
Absolutely. Now, I have to say, on your story about the 7 habits, I grew up traveling with my parents, having to listen to Willie Nelson, and I think I would have preferred the 7 habits. I still can't get Willie out of my head growing up as a child. It was. But, all right, so let's talk about being married in business. There are struggles with it, there are triumphs. What are some of the difficulties about being married in business? Because you're still smiling at me. Nobody's thrown anything at each other yet. But what are some of the great joys that you get out of it? Because you two clearly love what you do. You love each other. You love everything you're doing together because you're still smiling.
I think even thinking about when we were dating, that we could sit and talk for hours about construction, materials, details. I know that sounds so odd, but it just spoke to my heart that, I don't know, we could just really sink in. And when we travel, that's always one of the fun things, is looking at, how do you think they did that? We should look a little closer. I mean, our photos are always buildings. Our kids do the same thing. They'll send a picture when they're traveling. Look at this. Yeah, how do you think they did that? I think the fact that we're both very dedicated to what our careers are. Someone asked me this question a long time ago, and I felt like part of the answer was we knew where each other was at. It's work, Navy, home, extended family, that we didn't have time for joining a softball league or a bowling league or anything that kind of took away from that focus of, our family, our girls, work. I know that sounds a little single-minded, but really we were really dedicated to being present in those really important facets of our lives, and even joining a board or any sort of a extracurricular activity took a lot of discussion between us. Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to sacrifice that time? And can you pick up the slack? We had a home office for a long time, and that was part of that flexibility that I felt like was needed. Dean has always been more laid back with kids. I felt like I have to focus, so my most productive time was when they were gone to school. I knew when they got home that was over. But he could seem to have a conversation or work on something with a kid on his lap, and I sort of envied that. I didn't have that skill set, but I think I mentioned earlier, we try to have a date. Even when we were busy and slammed, we had a couple of the nicest babysitters you could possibly imagine. One girl was very financially astute. She would actually call us and say, "Don't you guys need to go to a movie? I got my eye on some new tennis shoes." And would you ever turn down a free baby? Not a free babysitter, but anybody that offered, we always took them up. So, I think in 36, 37 years of marriage, we have continued to try to take that time away, have a date. We just like checking out at a movie, honest to God. Just, everything's turned off. You're just watching and kind of escaping for a little while. I respect him very much. One of the first jobs when I quit my state job was we did the accessibility ramp on the governor's mansion. It was, the ADA was brand new. The executive mansion wanted to be accessible to people, so we worked hard on that design and worked hard on finding the brick, and the mason had started, and I was just heartsick because it wasn't quite lining up, and so I called him. He was the contractor. Actually, he had bid it and got the project, and he showed up.
The state approved it, us bidding it.
Yeah,
they knew we were related, living in the same house.
But he showed up, and really, he absolutely had my back, and he said, "No, it doesn't look right, and take it down, we're gonna start over." That it made me feel like he did hear me, he did respect where I was coming from, and it showed me something of his character too for his own company, that they weren't going to do a slipshod job, they were going to make it right as well. And I do know he has my back, and I have his, and it's still fun. That's part of the other hard part of looking down the pike, and how do you transition out of it. I think it's still a fun business to be in.
And I've got to kind of interrupt here because I've got to ask this because you brought up a great word earlier, Dean, gratitude. And it's got to be part of what makes it so much fun for you, does it not? I mean, that gratitude is what brings the joy to it.
Absolutely. We have clients that have gone on and become, very good friends. And I chuckle about, the first job, and, they tell somebody, that it grew very organically, that it was word of mouth. Neither of us have been very good about, promotion and advertising and that type of thing. It's mainly been this sort of word of mouth, work hard. We've just been so fortunate with such, really wonderful clients. And I still love when you hike up to the top of the South Hills and you look at the size of Helena and you think, what a wonderful place to be. And it has just been, it has offered opportunities for us that, I wouldn't want to have been anywhere else.
Well, we did look at somewhere else during the downturn at one point.
Oh, yeah. The mower.
Yeah. I mean, I was making less than my laborers were making, and I'm going like, I don't know if I can keep this up the rest of my life. And it was during that time period, and California was doing really well, and it looked like, and a lot of people had left the state at that point in time. But yeah, we made the right decision. We stuck it out here and raised a family in Helena. That was just awesome that we could do that. But when you talk about gratitude, I think both Sue and I feel that about everything. It's about gratitude about having great clients, gratitude about having great teams, and gratitude about being blessed with our upbringing and how we got to this point in our life. And it's just, that positive influence of being honored by working for people and providing services is just such an important facet of business itself. I think it shows through in everything you accomplish if you can do that.
It's not been without challenge. We're very cyclical. And really, the economy really impacts what we do. Our kids have the funny memory of the rice and beans year, which when you hear Dave Ramsey talking about rice and beans, it's like, well, it wasn't intentional, but I guess that was sort of, when it was on a slide, it's like we'd call it Dean's Diner, so we couldn't go out to dinner, but we can go to Dean's Diner. And they're like, I don't want to go to Dean's Diner, So Dean's Diner was pancakes or rice and beans, you just kind of, our family was very responsive and willing to understand when things were tight. We didn't make a big deal out of it. We just made different choices, and they all went along with it. But yeah, the Dean's Diner was a classic forever, I think.
The better classic is my own lovely wife, who, when the skids hit the road financially, as far as shutting down, I thought, really can't be buying anything. I mean, I don't know of any woman that could have done what she did with nothing. I swear that she didn't purchase anything for 2 years until it was financially capable to take and have extra spending money. I mean, it's like we just tightened our belts, and she didn't buy anything. I couldn't believe it. Dresses, shirts, and then if she did buy something, she'd be all guilty about it and come home and talk to me about it. I'm going like, get a life. And then after finally we started showing some progress being economically feasible to go upward, it was like, yeah, it's just been a really neat partnership, and very respectful and very supportive of what we needed to accomplish.
You guys keep the positive attitude, the gratitude during those financial difficult times. I mean, did you find something fun? I mean, I get the sense of it from Dean's Diner that there were things you did to make it fun. I mean,
Well, I think that Montana is just prime for just outdoor activities. I will share with you that I think one of our family best things ever is building our cabin up at Flesher. That I mean, you don't need any funds or money to go up there and have a blast with a little stream running through there that's got brook trout and kids love to fish and just enjoy nature. It's like those type of things don't cost anything. We could go snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. In the summertime, that little stream provided all kinds of activities for our kids. And
We had a 1968 motorhome. And that was a great source of recreation. It was a doozy, but it was good. I think what we've also found through the years is very seldom are both of us in the dumps. That usually one of us can buoy the other one up, and I think that's always been very, very important. If one of us is overwhelmed or blue, down, whatever, I think the other one senses it and kind of pulls it up or takes on something else. And you can't stay down very long with 5 kids either. They're going to call you out on it right away. I think always been important is that one of you tries
I
to
totally agree with that. I think it's
pull it up, and sometimes we trade that role in one day. I think both having that same dedication and vision that we're in it together, and we're gonna face anything that comes our way.
Well, right there, that's something that we, off camera before when we were just chit-chatting, we were talking about, goals in life and where we're all headed. I see a lot of couples struggle with vision, where one part of the couple is not talking about work at home as far as where they're going, so the other part of the couple doesn't feel like they're involved in their life, and we spend so much time at work. So how did you guys talk about your visions together? Because in reality, they're 2 separate businesses, but you both sound like you talked so much about each of your businesses together and where you're trying to take them.
Yeah. Well, here's the difference between she's a little conservative and I'm pretty aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think life is about balance. And so she's saved our butts on more than one occasion by being, are you nuts you're not spending all that money for another investment. I mean, do something new, spec houses, do something that's more risk or getting more loans. It's like, when we first got married, she says, I hate to say this, but I own $800 on my car or something like that. I said, honey, that's peanuts. You ought to see what I own. Or what I owe the banks. It's like, what I owe the banks was like, oh my God, just give it a break, lady. It's like, that's not even any. But that philosophy of hers, or what she had been exposed to, and what, as just like my story about the hailstorm, it's like, you want to talk about risk, and I think that has balanced well between us. I think we've been able to talk about that and be able to, and even when you talk about balance in design, even where aesthetics and utilitarian use, it's like, I started my career and my life all about just the practical sense of getting it done, and this is what it is. But here's the beauty of what a building can be, and I think we've developed extreme respect to each other about what we can offer for the equipment. I love sitting down and trying to figure out for her how we can do something that she's got this grandiose idea about. Do it in a fashion that saves money and costs less, or at least gets close to what she's after, but doesn't cost a fortune to take and get there. And it's just, I don't know. I think people are the husband and wife that you know, in my case, like I shared with you earlier, is I could look down 10, 20, 30, 40 years still in the future, trying to figure out what's going on. She brings it more back to reality and about where it's at. I want her to hire more people, and she's already going crazy. It's like, you know, when you talk about advancing the business aspect of it, and I respect that. It's not, it doesn't have to be all about, yeah. Well, it takes so much energy to train and audit and check and make sure you're providing the services at your and her excellence level is so hard on her when it comes to when she doesn't meet what that is, that it's devastating for her. And that's where I do come in and I say, you're not perfect, nobody is in this world, and we need to get past that with that point. But it's like,
Well, I think a lot of times, I mean, just back to his question, if there's something that we need to try to discuss, I don't know. You know, we try not to bring work home, but it doesn't mean we're not talking about work.
Well, let me help you. I think,
okay, thank you.
Because I think, Susan, where you're headed is, in my thoughts would be right there, is that bringing work home means that when you get home, that's your pure focus, right? Whereas you guys might be talking about your visions, your businesses at home, but you also have your kids that you're dealing with, and your family's what's really important at home, but you also find that time to say, hey, maybe I got some questions about work or my business that you might be able to help me with. Is that what you're kind of thinking of?
Yeah, that's probably capturing it, yeah. I've always relied on his numbers, and you know, he's really good at the whole accounting approach, and that has been a challenge for me, not having a lot of accounting background and not really being exposed to the architectural business aspects, having gone right into work at the state, not in an architectural office. So I've had to learn it through different means, I guess, you know, seminars and classes, but he's very good about bringing it down to earth and helping me understand it. So that's the kind of things that we might bring home and look at closer is, you know, year end, that type of thing. I always appreciate having his eye on that. Yeah, you know, I'm very calendar driven, so I will ask, you know, what is on your plate today? And, you know, try to make sure that I like to know I like to know what's next, but I'm not looking 10 or 20 years down the pike. I'm, you know, planning the week, and we have dinner with the kids, you know, what can we do to, you know, engage with our extended family. I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
Yeah, you absolutely are.
well, and I think we shared with you earlier is about coming home with a real challenge in my business side, and she's stressed out already with her own challenges, and then being able to find that, it's not that I don't want to share it with her, it's what I don't want to do is even crucify her further down the path to what it's doing to me. But it's also really important to me that oftentimes that's what helps us talk through it. And now that we don't have kids too, it's like we try to take a 2.5 mile walk every morning, and it's like being able to do that on the walk is really important, and it allows us to talk about things that maybe when you're under stress inside the house, even in the evening hours, I don't feel I want to share it. And there's still times that I don't want to do it, especially when she's having she's under stress, she's under schedules that's just driving her crazy. It's like, I can't say anything about this because I don't want it. And then she gets uptight with me. How could you say you wouldn't share that with me? And I'm going, oh my God, girl. It's like, and then she gets really excited about what's happening to me and protective of me. And I understand that, and I really, really, really appreciate your concern. But yeah, it's a challenge, and we're going to get through it, and I'm going to handle it. But it helps to have her input to take and solve a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah, I
for
feel
both
the same
of us.
way.
Yeah.
We had a good conversation earlier, and I want to hear both of your perspectives on this. You talked about a practical sense of doing business early on in your career, Dean, that it was really the numbers. The numbers drove everything. Now you've realized the numbers are important. There's also relationships, and use some other wording for it too. But I'd love to hear about that change in your perspective of business throughout kind of your careers.
I think it started when I first went to work in another construction company where the mentor was about relationships with his employees and relationships with clients. And then I think when you're that young and you're that driven, I have to admit, it was about money. And it was about getting the best out of every employee you ever had. And you're also, in my case, I was used to working with my father and my brothers, and there was no missteps. It's like just amazing to watch people just do stuff. They knew everything, where to be and where to fill in. But when you start talking about relationships with all of those individuals, you have to accept the fact that that's what life is about. And life is also about aesthetics and art. And I hated English, but reading books and having great books, it's that whole progression in our own lives that as you progress through it, you live and learn what becomes really, really important. I value more than money, success from my teammates and success for my wife and success for having a great project done. Even if it costs us money, it's still a huge success for us as a business. And recognizing that, but it also as you go through life and you become better off economically, I think it also just is a natural transition too, where it doesn't feel so pressurized about even just making it work. Because that's kind of in the first part of our life, it was just getting by and getting it moving and making it work economically for us.
Yeah, pretty lean.
Yeah.
Lean and efficient. Yeah.
And how has that evolved for you, Susan?
Well, I think I've always been kind of laid back about the financial end of things. I really want to be driven by the project, but maybe as time has gone on, I have gotten more aware of the financial aspects. Maybe I've gone the opposite way than he has. Yeah, I don't know that. I've always been very, very interested in our clients, and most of our work has been private work. We've certainly enjoyed projects for the state, projects for the city, projects for the county. Right now doing a couple for GSA. I've enjoyed the client aspect of our work tremendously.
But I think you're the social butterfly. I mean, oh God, compared to.
Well, yes, I'm very interested in people and interested in our clients and interested. It's a huge trust that they put in their architect to help them create, our new office space, our new home. And our job is to pull that information out of them. What do they see it to be? Mm-hmm. I've always dreamt that we're not building little monuments to ourselves as architects. We're supposed to be channeling what that client is dreaming about and what they want. And I feel like we're very good at that. And and it's been a fun way to make a living. I'm still not sure I'm answering your question. Okay.
You did good.
We have been going for quite some time.
I know.
If you don't realize it, we've been going now for 50 minutes.
Whoa. Okay.
Crazy, right?
Lots to.
So let's a couple last questions. I'm
Okay.
going to do the easy softball one because we've talked about books and reading. Give us a couple of books or podcasts, because Susan, I know you like podcasts, that you'd recommend to our viewers. Besides 7 Habits.
Yeah. Well, I spent quite a bit of time in the business of architecture, was a very informational and good podcast series. Actually wound up taking a class from them. The Family Business from Oregon State University, Austin Family Business Program, I think
Yep.
it was.
Yep.
They've got some excellent podcasts.
Give me that one again. Repeat
It's
that one.
the Oregon State University Austin
The
Family Business
Program.
And
In
it
the-
makes you wish you were in Portland. They have breakfast meetings out there about family business and succession planning, but really, I think, very well done podcasts. We've enjoyed the Strengths Finders more in a book form than a podcast form, but any other podcasts you can think of?
No, I can't. Well, I think there's some great ones out there, but I don't recall what they are. But the 5 dysfunctions of a team and the ideal team by Patrick Lencioni.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Great books.
great books,
Yeah.
great books and great information.
Yes, we have the whole series of Patrick Lencioni books at our office because they're fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it's just
Yeah, that's where Andrea has been very helpful, the daughter that works in the business, is that she's very much in tune with those kinds of programs. And so
Mhm.
she's always willing to slip us some information. Next trip, listen to this guy. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. So let's wrap things up with this question, which can be a really deep, long question, or it can be as short as you want. Your careers have gone through a lot of evolution. You've run into hurdles. First of all, what were some of the things you did to get over the hurdles? And now that you're looking to succession planning into your businesses, what's some advice you can give us, or some of the things you're facing now going forward as you're looking to find ways to move your businesses on, to either prep them to sell them or to move them to family members, or to employees, whatever it's going to be, but some things you can give us for advice for people who are trying to strategize.
The challenges, I've always appreciated, I can be sort of a doom and gloomer at times, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Is anybody hurt? That's always the first question. It's like, no, nobody got hurt, but we have to do this, this, and this, and this, to correct it or whatever it is. And it's like, well, you just keep moving forward. They're not going to take your birthday away. My mom used to say that too, is anybody hurt? And I'm thinking, well, no. And, then the rest of it you can handle. And we've really tried to follow that approach, mentor that approach with our other teammates, that, everything, you can get through just about anything. I mean, we've, one of the most heartbreaking challenges was the loss of his younger brother in 2011 from a very aggressive, fast-moving cancer. Just the most unlikely cancer victim, I guess you can say. But he was a real key part of Diamond Construction. He was an excellent superintendent, had a personality larger than life. That was one that you almost don't, you don't come back from it. You just get through it. And so being able to find those things that really matter, usually we can find our path through that. That one was probably, in my mind, one of the biggest challenges, was not only losing him personally and what that did to his parents and his wife and children and grandchildren, all of that pain. It was then coming back to work and realizing, he's not here, and that was humbling, and maybe also started kind of this thought process of, dang, nothing's guaranteed. We're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow. So I think finding that what's really important is one of the things that keeps driving me. Advice for someone that would be in my position or is 20 years younger than me, take the time to make some sort of a plan about how you see the end of your career. I've watched two of my sisters retire one from private business and the state, and then one from the feds. And I like what their retirement looks like, but mine isn't going to look like that just yet. I'm going to get there, but that exit strategy never crossed my mind. I hate to say. I just thought, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. And now, of course, in hindsight, I can see that it's a path of its own that needs some seeds sown a lot earlier than when I'm starting to look at that. So I don't know if mine will continue on or if it'll just sunset when I'm retired. And I still don't emotionally feel real strong either way. I like what we've accomplished, but I don't feel the absolute need to have it succeed me, but somebody else might feel differently. I'll let you wrap up.
Challenges, I have to agree with Susan's statement about them. It's like trying to identify what's really important in life. I told all my kids and her right from the start, I'm going in business, and just as long as you guys love me when I get through, if I go belly up, that it doesn't make any difference. That's all I care about. And I think you almost have to, as an entrepreneur, be in that mode. It's like, what's really, really important is my kids' love, my wife, not divorcing me if I lose all our cash. And it's like, and we can do it again if we have to, or start over, whatever. It's having that, interior confidence and ability to recoup. And I feel like we both, the resiliency. And I think we both have that they can get through tough stuff and come out the other end and be better for it. Hopefully learn something, so you can try not to do it. Those things that affect you in life that have no other options, like the death of my brother, it's like, those things, you just use them as a gift to understand how precious life is and how precious each other is, about family, extended family, business associates, teammates in your business, and it is about relationships, about where you're at there. As far as advice about how to get to the exit strategy, I can only say that start lots earlier, and I don't know that you could ever start early enough, but it just takes a lot to try to put yourself or position yourself in a manner that, in my case at least, trying to find that I have the vision of what I expect and want, but trying to get there and having a path that gets you there. It's really been a challenge for me. But I'm going to get through it. I got options, let's put it that way. It's just, I don't know if my first option is yes, it continues way beyond me, but we'll see. I'm excited about it. I'll get through it.
Any parting thoughts for our viewers?
No, this was fun. Thank you. I hope we shared some tidbits that could be helpful to someone. So
thank you guys. You guys have given us so much. Everybody, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Joel Silverman with the Montana Business Vlog, and thanks Social Flicks, and of course Susan and Dean Bjerke of Diamond Construction, Bjerke Architecture, and Silver City Stone. Whew, I got through that. That's the part I was worried about fumbling. But thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Like us below on our YouTube page, and see us at Silverman Law Office, mttaxlaw.com. Don't hesitate to give us a shout or drop a little blurb to us If you've got any other great business men or women that you want us to interview, or even young startups, because we're always looking for somebody who's doing something unique and trend setting. So thank you for joining us today.